What's going on, elites and geeks? Today we're going to be taking a look at playing tabletop RPGs solo. Now, in the last few years, this is something that has seen an uptick. Lots of people playing tabletop RPGs solo. And I am going to list for you 4 benefits of playing tabletop RPGs solo. And then I got an extra bonus 5th one at the end also if you stay until the end. So let's get this started, y'all, and roll that transition. So the first one on the list is nonstop availability. That means the game is ready 24/7, every day, all day. And when you're ready, the game is ready. You know, back in the day, if you saw another game that you were interested in and you were looking at it and you were like, yeah, I think I want to play this. And so you bought the game. But then you'd have to go through the arduous process of trying to convince all the rest of the players or people who you know to play to actually try out the game with you. Maybe you get 1 or 2 people to try it out with you. Maybe, maybe not. But if you did, then you would maybe create characters and it would be like, okay, we created characters, never play the game again. And the game would just kind of like sit there. And I've heard of people just having games for years, never played them, bought them and never played them. Well, you don't have to be concerned with that if you're playing the game solo. When you want to play, the game is ready. So all you need is a dice tray, you need a writing utensil and a notebook. Or if you like want a tablet or use your phone or something to keep notes in your journal, you can do that. And then you need the game in question, and then that's it. You are off to the races. You want to play an hour? You can play an hour. Want to play 3 hours? You can play 3 hours. Want to play 6 hours like you play video games all the time? You can do that as well. You do not have to be limited by whether somebody is going to be available, whether somebody is going to want to play. When the itch strikes you, you could just sit down and start playing. And folks, you can't beat that with a stick because the experience is always going to be what you want it to be. It's just you and the world inside your head. Yes, less stress, especially as a GM. There are many things that we have to do. If you use maps, you got to get the maps together. If you're doing a virtual tabletop, hey, is this triggering? Do I have everything set up right? Is the fog of war working? If you have a live session, who's bringing the snacks? What time are we going to get together? All of this stuff, which adds a little bit of stress to the situation, especially for the GM. And some people, it's not so good for them because they don't handle stress well, even though it is a game. But again, some people just make this a little bit more than what it has to be. But there's a little bit of stress that's involved when you are getting together with other people. I'll give you an example. We had this one time this was years and years ago, over a decade ago at this point. And we were playing at our local gaming shop over here. And I had Jim, who I've talked about on this channel. There's my brother from another mother of a different color. And we were playing with a lot of old school cats. I hadn't played with them in a long time. We call it Nerdvana, right? And we were supposed to play from like 11 in the morning till 11 at night. It's just supposed to be one game after another game after another game. Well, what ended up happening was that Jim was also friends, like besties, with another guy there whose name was Brian. And Brian decided to play a joke on Jim. Jim didn't think it was funny, and it just was like cats and dogs. It was mass hysteria, people getting upset over stuff. And this is the kind of stuff that adds to the stress of the situation. And they are best friends, like for decades since they've been in high school. And this is way after that. Stress, just adding to the stress. Okay. And that was around the time I started making the RPG Elite philosophy. I'm not even gonna lie to you. That just adds stress. When you're playing solo, none of that is part of the equation. It's just, hey, whenever you want to sit down and start playing, sit down and start playing. And then you know that when you sit down, this is going to be a more immersive, enjoyable, and meaningful tabletop RPG experience because you are in total control of it. Come on, son. Yes, Playing a tabletop RPG solo will make you a better player. And it doesn't matter if you're a GM or just playing your character. So let me give you two scenarios. As a GM, when you're playing a tabletop RPG solo, you are mostly in player mode. You're in GM mode a little bit. You have to be. But mostly you're in player mode. So when you're done playing that solo and you go back doing your game prep for your group, what happens is that the empathy as a player will bleed through your game prep. And so you'll be able to prepare a little bit better with a player's mindset. And then that is going to just make it better for your players. These little nuances and things that you put into your game prep is going to, like I said, bleed through, and they'll know something's different. And so it'll make the story easier to flow with everybody else at the table, just because you sat down and played a game solo. Now, if you're a player, how this works is that you might be able to empathize a little bit with your GM, because again, when you're playing solo, you got to be a little bit of a GM. Now, it's nowhere near what GMs need to do and to prepare, but there's a little bit more empathy there for the player. So as a player, also, when you're playing, you can, for example, let's say you have the game that you guys play on a regular basis and you want to do a side story for your character, right? But you guys ain't got time to do that when you're sitting at the table. You know, everybody's got to have a turn to shine. But you want to go deeper with your character. So you play solo and you got this whole scenario that maybe went on some side quest, or maybe it went on before you guys even started the campaign, you know, these little side stories and things. When you go back to playing with your group, oh, your medium and high level role play is going to be so much easier for you to do because you've spent all this time with this character. You're truly connected with this character, and it's going to show. It is going to be much easier for you to do medium and high level role playing with this character just because you sat down to play the tabletop RPG solo. So yes, as I said, it's just going to make you a better player, whether you're a GM or whether you're playing your character. Playing solo will strengthen your imagination and creativity for improv. So if you're sitting down, you've got to imagine these things. You got to be immersed in what it is that you're doing, right? And as I've said before, imagination is the foundation of creativity. And so both of these are kind of inextricably tied together. So you're playing and you have to come up with stuff on the fly. I mean, this is an absolute must. Again, you're a little bit of the GM and mostly a player. So this stuff you have to come up with stuff on how this works. How do you interpret this? All of that. And it's improv, just like it is when you guys are sitting around a table. The more you do it, the easier it's going to be for you when you're sitting down at the table to be more imaginative and more creative, because you just do it all the time. Especially, let's say you're only playing an hour or 2 hours more than you play your group game. You are going to be more imaginative and more creative. It's going to come to you easier when you're seeing certain scenarios. It'll come like this because you're playing solo. And this will bleed into pretty much any creative endeavor that you do that's kind of similar to a tabletop RPG. It's just the way it works, folks. More imagination, more creativity, the more you play a tabletop RPG solo. Now, I said that there was going to be a bonus benefit, but I kind of told a fib, because not just one, there's two. But let me give you with the first one. The first one is that if you're keeping a good journal, so it's only if you're keeping a good journal. So if you keep a good journal, this is mine for one of my solo campaigns. If you're keeping a good journal, you can always revisit your experience over and over. When you're sitting around the table with a whole bunch of people, you guys are having fun, things are grand, but after that, it's over. Unless you're making a video of it, it's only in the memory at that point. That's it. And somebody may remember something different than what it was. And so you guys have differing stories. You don't have to do that if you're keeping a good journal. You can just go back and you can revisit and re-experience it the same way that it happened and know that it happened that way because you wrote it down as you were playing. So that's one very cool thing, to be able to experience it over and over again. But here's one that's a little deeper. If you are keeping, again, if you're keeping a good journal, and how I keep mine, let me tell you how I keep mine before I go further. How I keep mine is that and I'm probably going to pull this up underneath, but I have things in print that I print out. Okay, that's the game mechanics and things that's happening and what's going on in my mind and how I'm making decisions and things like that. At the top of this, you're going to see me write things in cursive. That's the story. That's descriptions. That's dialogue. All this stuff that's going on in my head, I write that down. So nothing is left to chance as far as what's going on in my head and all the rest of that stuff. I just write all that stuff down. And so that's how I keep my journal. Now, you don't have to keep yours like that. You can keep yours however you want to keep it, right? But if you do keep a journal and it is one that, you know, it kind of makes sense, you can always pass this on to others. And this can live after you have gone away from this earthly plane. You can pass it on down to your children. If you don't have children, maybe your nephews or nieces. You could pass this on to somebody else. They can experience what you experience, and then it'll be like, man, this sounds kind of cool. Can I experience this like this? And maybe you'll get somebody interested in playing tabletop RPGs. It could become a legacy. And you can influence someone else to play tabletop RPGs just by giving them your journal. Sure, you can do that even before you leave this earthly plane. You could just give somebody your journal and be like, hey, here's one of my adventures. And just give it to them. Have them read it. And then when they come back and they have questions, you can answer the questions for them. Told y'all, playing a tabletop RPG solo is the bomb diggity. I remember I mentioned in one of my videos that I prefer to play tabletop RPGs solo for those 6 reasons that I just laid out. And somebody in the comments had said something stupid like, man, that's not what they're made for. Newsflash. Playing tabletop RPG solos have been around like almost since the beginning. Like it's mentioned in Classic Traveler, like mentioned. It's not, it doesn't have a system or anything like that, but it's mentioned, you know, play it solo. And there are actual modules from the classic Marvel Superheroes Advance and DC Heroes. It has a couple of them, kind of the choose your own adventure thing. Yep. Playing a tabletop RPG solo. It's been around. It's just that it's just grown more and more in popularity. And some people are programmed that, you know, this is the only way that you can play a tabletop RPG is with people. Nah, and it's not even the best way. It just depends on how you are wired. Hey, if you got anything out of this video today, anything that would help you, or you learned something a little bit, could you do a brother a solid? Could you please? Could you just crush that like button? Also, if you want to stick around, I come out with videos every Tuesday and maybe sometimes some other day of the week. Just depends on what I got going on that week. But Tuesdays are the day. And if you don't want to miss any of them, depending on when I come out, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. All right. This is a good one. Let's get to the question of the vid. 6 reasons I gave. 6 benefits of playing tabletop RPGs solo. Now, whether you've played tabletop RPGs solo or not, which one of those benefits attracts you the most to make you start playing solo? And also, if you have played tabletop RPG solo, if you think I forgot something, put it down in the comments, because we need to get up on this. We need to get people into tabletop RPGs any way that we can. Let's do some tabletop RPG evangelism, y'all. And let's get some engagement going down in the comments below. And that's going to do it for me. That means it's time for me to do my snuggle puss.
So exit, stage left.
Hey, if you got any games going on this week, y'all, happy gaming. I pray it is an RPG Elite session. So in the meantime, between time, go ahead and watch this video. Until next time, y'all, God willing, it's me, your boy servant, saying peace. 5,000 leets. I'm gone.